This episode is sponsored by Linode. Linode is offering listeners of this podcast a $20 credit, which is good for 4 free months at their lowest plan. Their plans start at 1 gigabyte of RAM for $5 a month. You can get your servers in any of their 10 data centers, and their high memory plans start at 16 gigabytes. Get a server running in under a minute. They do hourly billing with a monthly cap on all plans and add-on services like backups, node balancers, Longview, etc. VMs for full control, running Docker containers, encrypted disks, VPNs, etc. You can run a private Git server. They provide native SSD storage, 200 gigabit network, and Intel E5 processors. They have 24/7 friendly support, even on holidays, and a 7-day money-back guaranteed. So go check them out at linode.com/adventures in Angular.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 3.14 of the Adventures in Angular show. Get my joke in there?
You got your joke
I actually
in there.
don't know what the episode
But you don't know any of the rest. It's really shameful that you don't know the rest of the digits.
I know 3.14159, and that's it. How many can you do, Ward?
I think it's 2.6 after that, but I'm not sure.
Wow, we're already derailed. We don't know what the episode number is, so it is whatever it is. Maybe Chuck will splice in the actual episode number when he edits this. But today on our show,
I was right. It's 2.6.
Oh my goodness!
The audience already knows that we are in a rare form today, which as we usually are with Ward on.
Albert's last name is Pi, so this is actually very fitting. It's my episode.
Awesome. So we have today on our panel Ward Bell.
Hello.
And Alyssa Nicoll.
Hey everybody.
And I'm your host Joe Eames, and our very special guest on this very special Pi edition of Adventures in Angular are Eric Simons and Albert Pi.
What's up? How's it going?
Is it Simons or Simmons?
Simons. Yeah, I've gotten that my entire life.
Wow. Lucky.
It's one M. All right.
So you two work for what's the company name you guys work for?
Thinkster. That's right. That's our company. We're a 2-man crew. We teach people full stack development. We've been primarily teaching. It's mostly Angular. We started off actually just doing Angular about 4 years ago, and we've expanded to cover like all the other stuff out there, like Node and Rails and React, and just about everything, or all the major ones at least. We teach you how to build full stack apps with them.
Awesome. And today we're going to be talking about your very special product that's been hitting the JavaScript development world by storm, StackBlitz. So first off, do you guys want to give us a short little intro of you and your company? And you can hold off on StackBlitz. We'll ask you specifically about that, but just the two of you and Thinkster a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Albert and I, we've known each other for, it's got to be at least a decade and a half, maybe more. Yeah. We grew up down the street from each other in Chicago. So we've been like childhood friends. And we started programming probably when we were like somewhere between 10 and 13, and we started building websites together. And long story short, we found our way out to Silicon Valley, and we've started a couple startups. And our current company that we do is Thinkster, like we just mentioned. And we got into the business of Thinkster because we wanted to make it a lot easier for people to learn how to become software engineers online. Because that's how we learned is, sitting at a computer, and we really wish that there had been more resources available to us. Because back then it was like, the mid 2000s, most of the learnings for programming were still sold in like books, and they're very expensive. And we typically, we had to kind of pick and choose what we wanted to learn. And so our goal with Thinkster was to solve that problem we had, when we were young and wanted to learn. And of course, it solves it for all ages. Like we have people that are, 13 all the way up until like 65. Like we've had people from all ages using Thinkster to learn stuff.
It's great. It sound like the end of the road. Push me off the cliff.
My mom's like 65.
That is like unimaginable. Like everything up to infinity. Okay, you might as well just
right.
this is just that we're aware. These are the people that we've talked to. I don't want to say like 80 because I just don't know if we've had any 80-year-olds on our site. You know,
I just want to know you've actually met somebody who lived to the age of 65. Like that's amazing.
Oh my god!
Isn't the mandatory like?
Wait a minute, I gotta get my teeth. My teeth fell out. I gotta put my teeth back in.
There's a mandatory euthanasia age, right? Isn't that like 55 or something?
I gotta tell you, you know, if I live to be 65 and I'm still like doing programming tutorials on the internet, like that's gonna be awesome. And it's just, you know, the people that do that today, I'm just like blown away because it's like these are like lifelong learners, you know, and you know they're a dime a dozen. It's been really cool. It's cool to see the age gradient, people from all walks of life coming to the site and learning about stuff. I mean, that's actually how we got into the business. It's not really, it's like the side project of StackBlitz. Unless there's other questions about Thinkster, I can kind of talk about how we started StackBlitz up.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's move into StackBlitz and why did you do StackBlitz? Like, were you hanging a picture and fell and hit your head in the bathroom and dreamed it up?
Well, first of all, what is StackBlitz? What is StackBlitz?
Is that a typical story for where I got whacked in the head really hard? Sorry. Ward, did you just ask something? I think I missed it.
Yeah, that was just a voice from the Beyond 65. People should know what StackBlitz is, and then they're immediately going to say, "But you know, there's a lot of other things that try it there, you know, that are online coding environments, and why do we make StackBlitz?" So, but first, tell them quickly in a sentence what StackBlitz is.
Totally, yeah. I mean, StackBlitz is an online VS Code IDE for Angular, React, Ionic. We're adding, we have a couple more as well. We support like Svelte, and Vue is coming soon. And the basic idea is you can come to StackBlitz, and in one click, you get put into this VS Code environment where you can just start building out React Angular applications. And it's got hot reloading, has all the stuff that VS Code comes with, like IntelliSense and, you know, go to file, go to definition, all that sort of stuff. And it actually can even work offline because one of the key things that we invested in before we launched this thing was we actually created a dev server that works inside of the service worker. So a lot of people actually will use StackBlitz on planes and trains and whatever have you, because even if you go offline, you can keep refreshing, and that dev server keeps compiling and bundling and spitting out your assets, which is really like we haven't seen any prior art to anything quite like that. So a lot of people really like that. It's a very real environment. And the reason we created it was we teach a whole bunch of different types of folks on Thinkster. And the biggest problem that we had in teaching them was that their local dev environments were not a great place to learn because, first of all, getting them set up can be a huge pain. And it takes a while, and it's also riddled with bugs. So you have people that are trying to learn Angular, the framework, and when they're trying to learn it, they'll run into a problem with like running out of file watchers or something with Webpack or something here or something there, and they're like, why is Angular not working? You know, they can't reason yet, like, oh, this is the framework isn't the problem, it's like the tooling. And so it really impedes the learning process. So for our learners, it's a big problem. And then for us, you know, we like building stuff. We have a lot of different side projects that we've worked on. So we wanted a faster way to prototype because those bugs that are in your local environment are just kind of more of a nuisance to developers who have been around the block for long enough, right? So StackBlitz, came out of this realization that, you know, all these tools that we use locally are written in JavaScript, right? So can't we just, you know, copy and paste the portions of that code locally and make it like work in a browser? And it turns out that like it's definitely possible. It was just like an incredible amount of work. And so like Pi and I have never been ones to back down to a challenge. And so once we figured out it was possible, we were like, all right, we're going to do this. And we just dumped like six full, like more than full-time months of work into this thing to put it online and make it possible. And yeah, we put it online, and we've been delighted that folks have found value in it because we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the thing. So it wasn't done in vain.
What's the business model behind it? I mean, I'm just curious. You put all that effort into it. What's the is it propelled by your training business? Is it, or are you just like in it for the gratitude of the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're like pretty intrinsically motivated to work on it from a technical standpoint. I mean, it's been one of the most technically challenging things. I mean, at least I've worked. Would you say
it's the most complex piece of software I've ever worked on for sure.
It's super cool. Like it's been just an incredible amount of fun to work on. For that reason alone, we've really enjoyed it. But and from the business perspective, it helps us. I mean, it helps us teach our users on Thinkster. And that was the entire reason we went off down this rabbit hole to get the thing made. Is that we care a lot about the experience of the people learning on Thinkster, and StackBlitz easily improves the learning experience by like 5x or more. And of course, now that other folks are starting to use it, it also makes people more aware of Thinkster's offerings. So our work on Thinkster directly affects the business, our work on StackBlitz directly affects the business of Thinkster. And so it makes the whole thing go round.
Well, you sort of jumped into the fray because there were other folks who were offering coding in the browser, like Plunker and CodePen, and there's got to have been 3 or 4 others, but to my knowledge, nobody else has the combination of having having. Are you using Monaco to give that VS Code experience?
Yeah, we're using the same stuff that like VS Code itself is using, and so they actually like Monaco is a thing in VS Code they split out. So like we are using that stuff. We're also using other things as well because Monaco doesn't give you like the command P, like go to file. You have to layer up, like go to definition, and like stuff like we look at their source code, we pull out all like various pieces that Monaco like doesn't ship with. Because Monaco is like very, very bare bones. Like for example, the syntax highlighting you see in StackBlitz, we actually had to roll that ourselves because Monaco in VS Code they use TextMate grammars, which is like a C library, and you can't run that in a browser. So we actually had to write our own syntax highlighting stuff to get the VS Code. I think it's like called like VS Code Dark Plus because they have VS Code Dark, which is like the base one Monaco ships with, but Dark Plus is the enhanced VS Code version that uses the TextMate grammar. So we wrote our own that does that stuff.
Well, the net of it is that it feels like a real IDE as opposed to a kind of a scratch pad. And that makes just a huge difference for people who are trying to learn something and don't know what the APIs are because you're getting the help. So for me, that was like the number one top dog feature in StackBlitz that kind of blew me away. Go ahead, Alyssa. You were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to ask. So when you two started like putting this together, was it like more of we'll just throw these like couple of JavaScript things together and it'll work, and then you started realizing how much extra there was to do, or did you have an idea in the beginning?
I don't know.
I feel like it started off like, okay, let's see how much like day-to-day stuff we can pull off in the browser, and then eventually we're like, okay, this is possible, but like what about these little things? Like, are those possible? And then it just ended up into this rabbit hole of figuring out if things are possible and then like making them possible and then figuring out like, oh, there's these other contingencies that have to be in place in order to make those things possible.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it, because from the get-go, like this was really a question of can we basically make a real dev environment entirely in the browser, right? Like that was the guiding mission. And we weren't sure we were going to be able to do it, like because no one else had really been able to do to the extent at least that we had done it. There wasn't anyone else out there that we could look to, and so we were really in like no man's land for a lot of it. But once we got a lot of the core stuff figured out, then we were like, damn it, this actually has legs,
This kind of sounds like it started out as sort of a drunken bet, right? You know what would be awesome? Developing in the browser. It's a good thing nobody suggested phone, and then we'd be like, hey, this is StackBlitz for your phone. Everybody's gonna program on their phone now.
It works. It works great on your phone. Yeah, we actually just redid our mobile stuff. Oh yeah, yeah. We just redid our mobile views, and people use this thing to write on their phone and their iPad.
It does actually. I pulled up some stuff on it the other day, and do others work on the phone? I don't know if they do. Other comparable ones. I think
some probably do. I think I forgot to mention one of the key things when we were doing this was that we want again, it needed to be really good for prototyping. And what that means is that for this to be better than your local environment at prototyping is it had to be faster, and not just a little bit faster. We wanted it to be 5 times faster. And the key ways that are typically, a hindrance to fast turnaround times, because that's what prototyping is about, is, you want to put your idea in there and then see the result come back. And so everything, we had to do a lot of work on the NPM side and the bundling side, compiling, whatever, to get the 5x improvement over local. But also things in the IDE itself is the time to interactive. We wanted that to be underneath 2 to 3 seconds, which we were able to do. But we had to be very, very meticulous about having a very low amount of resources in the browser at a given time to ensure that it loads insanely fast.
So having low amount of resources, and then I asked you on another podcast, but I think, isn't it the fact that you guys wrote this in vanilla JavaScript, another reason?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. We had to write it in vanilla JavaScript because we had to be meticulous, basically, because we couldn't just take the existing, for example, taking just Webpack itself and putting it in the browser would have added a couple of megabytes to our payload, and the bundling times would have been 5 times slower than local. So we kind of go the opposite way when we just try and glue the existing stuff out there together. Whereas we had to basically piecemeal parts of what's out there and test to make sure it's, super fast, and then actually roll it out, which takes a lot more time. But the end result is just a ludicrously fast experience of developing apps.
Yeah, I was so impressed. I remember asking you, I was like, yeah, but what did you write it in? You're like, JavaScript. And I'm like, yeah, but what kind of JavaScript? And you're just JavaScript. I'm like, wait, what? For me, it was so unheard of that I was just like, oh my gosh, these guys are so legit. I need to stop talking. So.
No, we never worked on we never really worked on anything to the degree where it's we had to roll our own stuff. This is the first time we've had to go get this knee deep in custom custom code. And yeah, it's been an experience. Learned a lot. learned a lot more about how stuff works under the hood in dev environments than I ever wanted to know.
Well, it is really fast. I just loaded up one of our larger example apps from the from the Angular docs, which is the router one, and it was, as you say, it starts your time to first visual. It's working was very fast, and it's a fair number of files with an awful lot of NPM dependencies, and it was operational in under 8 seconds, just wall time. And that is excellent for this kind of an application. I mean, loading it myself at home would take 8 seconds to get to this point. So that's really great. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've got more improvements coming on that front. Because most of that time is probably being consumed in the npm install, and we've been able to get that to be about 5 times faster than local. But we have a bit more performance we think we can squeeze out on that. Maybe up to 2 times as fast as it is now potentially. Yeah, we're constantly chipping away. We're speed demons. We're constantly trying to figure out how we can increase the performance of this thing.
Well,
yeah,
it works.
How fast is fast enough?
Yeah, exactly. Well, always faster than it was. No, but I mean, for me, this was point number 2, is that it really operates very quickly. Point number 3 is it looks just like the Darren CLI. And I that may not, people don't know necessarily how hard that is. But in our previous one, we were using a lot of System.js and things like that. And I don't know what's really under the hood here, but it looks just like the project I had on my I have on my local machine. And it looks, I open up the dependencies and there are all these NPM packages here, and I'm saying, how'd they do that? So, but the fidelity to what I will get when I download the code is very high. And I'm curious, how did you do that?
Totally. How did we do...
like the NPM stuff?
Oh, the NPM stuff. Yeah, so that was probably one of the trickiest parts, I think, of the entire thing. Because, Yarn and NPM are designed to handle really like large dependencies, like with binaries in them for like backend code bases. And so their install process is like, we want StackBlitz to be, feel like a supercar, like super fast. Like when you hit the gas, boom, you're going. Whereas like the install process for NPM and Yarn it has to be more like a semi-truck because it has to be able to carry a massive load. But most front-end dependencies don't typically have gigantic binaries in them, right? And so we ended up figuring out was that if we created a smart package manager that essentially traced the main field, the typing field, and like other relevant fields in the package JSON, we'd cut down the actual size of the payload typically by 4/5. And so you end up with this very, very small package. And that adds up, too, because you have some packages that are, you get even bigger cost savings than that. Like we've seen on the higher end, like up to 2 orders of magnitude in reduction of the size of node modules for that. And on top of that, we also wrote a resolver that will go and grab the metadata. And actually, Pi, you're the one who wrote the thing for the resolution of the dependencies. So I'll let you explain exactly how that works.
Yeah, so for the dependency manager, there's really like 2 parts of it. And the first part that Eric already talked about is getting the source code that needs to be downloaded as small as possible. The other part, which is the dependency resolver, is trying to figure out the right version of these dependencies to download. So like when you say when you have like an Angular dependencies, being able to respect all of the peer dependencies and all of like the semantic versioning numbers and making sure those are all correct before you go and start the downloading process. So we were able to speed up that by basically having most of NPM's data set within our data center in memory, so that whenever we get a package JSON that needs version numbers resolved, that happens in under like 500 milliseconds.
Well, usually in like 85, right? Like we're typically shooting 85. If you throw something giant at it, it might suck up like just like ludicrously big. It can go longer, but our average response is around 85 milliseconds for any package.json, which is pretty crazy. And all of this stuff also works in browser. So we have essentially like server-side performance improvements that will like deal with concatenating and gzipping like the smaller versions of the packages and the in data center resolution. But the browser itself actually falls over to doing this stuff directly from CDNs or from the NPM registry or whatever have you. So our server side stuff is really just a boosting layer or a caching layer. And the original logic, what StackBlitz originally shipped with, it was doing it all in browser and was about the same speed as like NPM or Yarn locally. But with a lot of the new improvements, we've been able to increase it 5 times that.
Wow, 5 times?
Yeah, it's really fast. I mean, if you go to StackBlitz and just type in, your favorite package you use with Angular, and see how fast it installs.
So I really want to talk about a feature, which I don't really know what you call this feature, but you can like type in a GitHub repo like into the StackBlitz URL and it like pulls in the project.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that feature?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we have this, this was made possible because of Turbo and how fast it's able to install dependencies. And Ward, what you were talking about with, like the Angular docs where they're being able to spin up new projects on demand. The Turbo also was the key thing we had to get in place there as well, because basically we wanted to be able to take any, like just give us a project, like the project data, like an example Angular application, and be able to boot it within 5 to 10 seconds on the higher end. So in order to do that, we had to install the packages super fast. So now that that's in place, we actually have this feature that Alyssa was mentioning, where you just go to stackblitz.com/github/github/github username/repo name. And if you go to that within any Angular CLI project on GitHub, it'll automatically suck that in and boot it directly on StackBlitz, you can live edit any Angular CLI project on GitHub, which is super cool.
Yeah, that for me blew my mind because like Ward's all like, wow, the speed. And when you showed me that, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to just have it like seamlessly pull it in from GitHub and run it, because then you can just like, if you have examples or something, you can just push that to GitHub and then, point the link to StackBlitz with your username and the name of the repo. And actually really soon we're going to have the ability for you to commit back to that repo directly from StackBlitz and make PRs to it and merge conflicts and all that stuff. So you're going to be able to do the whole GitHub lifecycle directly in StackBlitz, which is going to be really cool.
I feel like not only are you getting rid of like the need for the CLI, like it can be behind the scenes, but like the need for people to like know how to use CLI, but also like the need for setting up your environment on your computer. Cause like, that's just so cool to me to be able to like the first day at a new job, you type in the URL and you can like make a commit. Like you don't have to worry about the tooling or the environment. Like to me, that's mind boggling and really exciting.
Yeah. We're excited about it too. I mean, especially, I think for developers like us that have been doing this for a while, it's definitely like super nice to have a lot of the stuff just abstracted and just kind of like being done for you. Where normally you have to get into the plumbing and like dealing with doing all this yourself, like whether it's the CLI or Git or whatever have you. But especially for beginners, I mean, it is like this is pretty cool. And one of the things that we're pretty excited about is that this thing works super well on the lowest end Chromebooks. Back in December, we gave a talk at Google about this, and we brought in just this like potato of a Chromebook. And when I say potato, I mean it was just like worst Chromebook that it was like $165 including shipping, right? Like just awful. And we brought this thing in, and we were live editing an Angular application, and we installed dependencies, and it was like operating faster than my local environment was on my MacBook Pro. Right.
Whoa.
And so the reason what's cool about that is that you have, kids in K-12, like, Google's selling these Chromebooks, like that level of Chromebook, $165 Chromebook, that's the sort of thing they're selling in mass to K-12. And now because of like stuff like StackBlitz, where you can do this in the browser like really fast, kids, when they're young and when they would be wanting to learn about these sorts of things can actually be exposed to modern web development. And they can actually learn about this stuff. And schools are already starting to use StackBlitz to teach their kids JavaScript.
They are?
Yeah, like we have people that are using StackBlitz to teach kids that are from ages 8 and up, maybe younger. If we haven't talked with them. Like K-12 is actually starting to use this product, which we think is really cool. Because like Pi and I, we came from humble beginnings, and we want to make sure that it's important to us that we ensure that the next generation of programmers can have unfettered direct access to learning how to create awesome websites and web apps. So we're pretty excited about that in K-12.
Very cool.
So you said that this is great for learning students. Do you feel like there is a place here for advanced, like professional developers, not just to try out new stuff and to fiddle around, but bigger stuff? I mean, we all know what Atom is, and well, I guess that may not be true. Atom is a really truly like a development environment, right? But tries to be online. So is this potentially have some possibility there?
Well, does Atom do stuff online?
Sorry. No, it doesn't do it online, but it just reminds me of Atom, right? Like Atom was built on JavaScript as well, just like VS Code.
Oh, got it. So are you wondering if we're gonna try and create like a local?
Yeah, there's the other one, Cloud9, right? That was the one I was thinking of when I actually said Atom. But Cloud9, they're actually like an online IDE. Are you seeing that is that a potential future here?
Yeah, I think that the big difference between us and like Cloud9 is Cloud9 is basically like a GUI that talks to network to some VM in the cloud. And so you're like the actual CPU cycles of like what's happening are being done on some VM, which typically means that you have to pay for this VM out in the cloud. And whereas with StackBlitz, we're actually leveraging all of the hard work is being done by your machine. Like it's everything's being executed inside of your web browser. So we don't actually have any VMs or anything like that on the cloud that you're connecting to. And what that leads to is that one, StackBlitz is super cheap for us to host. You know, we spend I don't know, a couple $100 or something at most for the hosting. And that's pretty much unchanged since we launched. And the other thing is that there's no latency and it's like really fast because it's being done directly on your local machine. So right now we're still just drilling into like that technical difference. We're still exploring that. We're like, how many of these things can we have the browser do? Because it's a better experience for the user because it's very fast and it's being done directly on the machine, and it's a better experience from a price perspective because it's free. Their machine's doing all the work that you would normally be paying some VM that's, you know, like half the power of your local machine anyways to like compile your Angular app or whatever. So I think that's like really the big difference between us and Cloud9, and there's a handful of kind of IDEs that are just like a portal to like a VM essentially. But yeah, I mean, at some point, you know, we'd love to get into the backend stuff as well. But yeah, I think our big thing is just speed. Like we only do things that we are confident that we can, you know, bring a 5x improvement to in terms of speed and experience.
Cool.
Are you ready to master Angular? Oasis Digital offers Angular Bootcamp, a 3-day intense workshop class for individuals or teams. They cover Angular 4 and 2 and focus on the skills and knowledge you need for complex, data-rich applications. They also still offer AngularJS for teams supporting older projects. Bring them to your site or send developers to them in St. Louis, San Francisco, New York, DC, and other cities, and online at angularbootcamp.com.
So you said that this can run disconnected. I don't see any particular button you click that says go offline, but it just detects that you've lost your connection, or it's just running in the service worker locally, or what's the deal? What do I have to do to make it run offline?
Yeah, so if you kill your, like, if you disconnect your computer from Wi-Fi or Ethernet or whatever, and you have no internet connection, and you like keep typing inside the editor and refreshing, you know, your preview pane, that dev server like will actually, you know, refresh the page, and it's rebundling and recompiling and everything. It's like a local dev environment in that regard. And because of that, you actually get a canonical URL for your application, and you can open that in a completely different browser window. And so you can do, you know, just like you do locally, you have your editor in one window, you have like your browser in another that's, you're seeing the updates. You can do the same thing with StackBlitz. So you can actually open an entirely new window and be refreshing, open up the console, do like real debugging on the thing. But yeah, you just you know, kick off your internet connection, and you try refreshing the preview pane, and or the preview window, any you know, however you are accessing it, and it'll keep working.
I'll be darned. I'm just trying it as you say. And true enough. Yeah. I mean, I didn't disconnect, because if I disconnected, we wouldn't still be talking.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might want to try this after.
but I mean, the pasting around and stuff, yeah, no, it's just, there's a lot of goodies in here. But I mean, just the basic thing, you know, is I love having the full editing experience, and that it runs like it does, and then it looks just like the code I had at home, you know, and everything else you're talking about, that's gravy, good gravy though.
Glad to hear you like it. Yeah, we spend a lot of time making sure that we try and keep it to reflect exactly what you expect of like a local environment. We spend a ton of time, everything from just like the technology even to the UI. We want to make sure it feels just like a normal environment. You can do the same exact stuff a normal environment you like that you would do there. So it's great to hear that we're pulling through in that regard.
So I probably should mention something else. Again, if you've got your own stuff and you're trying to do documentation, you want to give people samples, which is what the Angular team is in the business of. But I mean, we have our, you know, at Ideally we have Breeze and things like that. Love to give people examples that they can play with in an environment like this, so that they can get a real experience. and not just read about the code, but see it there. And all the Angular docs have a link in them, and hopefully by the time people hear this, when they click that link, it'll be showing in StackBlitz, which is a great way to engage directly with the code that you're reading about. Now,
and it's already working in Material, right?
And I understand it's working in Material. There are no technical obstacles, to my knowledge, between what I'm saying as I speak and our having it out there. It's just, whatever we have to do to get it punched out. So I'm feeling like when people hear this, the Angular docs are going to be in StackBlitz. So one of the things I wanted to comment about was, like, suppose you say, well, I've got my own product and I want to give my customers examples of how, I see it running in StackBlitz. What do I do? And what used to be done is that one would actually put samples in, say, a StackBlitz and give people the URL in StackBlitz, and then they would go there. And the problem is that as your samples evolve or as your code evolves, if you're a product owner, like, say, your Breeze or whatever your thing is, you would have to go into StackBlitz and update it whenever you pushed a new release or you fixed the sample and stuff like that. And that's a maintenance burden that would be too hard. Well, it would be really hard. Maybe too hard is whatever you've got money and time to do. But what we do in the Angular docs, which and you could do this yourself. You could steal our code there. It's open source for doing it yourself. Is we generate a StackBlitz formatted HTML file that actually has built into it all of these little files. And I mean, there are hundreds in this example I happen to be looking at. And we send that HTML file to StackBlitz, and you guys take it and turn it into this project, which means that the generation of these StackBlitz HTML files is something that's part of my own development process. It goes in, I'm managing it in GitHub myself. It gets versioned. It gets every time I get a new commit, I run that. We run the StackBlitz generator. And so I'm in complete control of it as part of my maintenance world, and I don't have to run out to StackBlitz and go fix 100 samples when I have a new release. I just count on the fact that this HTML file is going to be part of my, what I'm pushing out as part of my documentation. And that is great, and I'm so glad that you guys at StackBlitz implemented this so that people like us can write samples and maintain samples that display in StackBlitz. I guess that's the net of it.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and I for the Angular folks specifically, we created a custom API that's like very battle hardened. Like, I think Pi spent at least a couple of weeks on this thing, not because it was hard to set up an API, but it's we fortified the crap out of the thing because it's going to be getting hammered with millions of requests, and so we're doing aggressive caching on the stuff that comes through there, so that we're not regenerating projects all the time, because a lot of them are duplicates of what other people are the links people are clicking on. But we're going to be opening up an API so that anyone can post data to us and spin up new StackBlitz instances on demand, completely for free. So if you have an open source documentation and you want to just have a link someone can click on and see that running in StackBlitz, that example code, you can do that. We have a couple of companies that are talking to us. They have products that there's a design tool that lets you design React components. They want you to be able to click to open it in StackBlitz, stuff like that. Our API is going to let people start building out some really cool integrations that could leverage what StackBlitz does.
Yeah, that's great. Another thing I think would be cool for is if I'm trying to develop something for a customer and I want to share code with my customer, an example of their app that's running and stuff like that, and there's no server environment, there's no I just want them to see what this might look like, and so I can get the customer's feedback on whether I'm going in the right direction and all that other kind of stuff. It's super great for that. It's super great for filing bugs. one of the things I hate as being on the other side of this is somebody says, well, you've got a bug in your code. It's like, well, yeah, can I have a repro? And they say, what's that? How do I get that to you? And then they email me something that, it's just horrible. But this is, again, another one of those things where you can just whip out a reproduction of an error, and now, as the person responsible and accused of writing bad code, which never happens, I can see your repro and work on it. It's just making the whole dev cycle easier.
Yeah, it's perfect for use cases like that, for sure. I mean, we see a lot of people on Stack Overflow or on GitHub, when they're doing repros, they're using StackBlitz now. Since it's so close to your local environment, it's very easy typically to recreate, whatever issue you're running into, which has traditionally been a problem with a lot of the other like playgrounds, because they don't have like multi-file support, or they don't have NPM support. Like they don't have all the things a normal environment would have. So it's super great for that. And then, for like what you're saying with the clients, that's actually another use case. Like, again, for prototyping and saying, hey, does this look good? We have really cool stuff that's going to be coming down the pipeline for that. Like we have OTA hot reloading, so being able to hot reload your application across devices and airwaves and continents. So you can be on the phone with your client and say, hey, go to this URL, my StackBlitz URL, and do you like the color blue for that? And they're like, no, can we try green? You just type green, hot reloads over the air to them across the world. They can see it and give their feedback. So that stuff's going to be super great for teams, or if you're working for a client and you want to show them changes like in real time. And it's not just like the color of a button. You can actually change entire functionality over the air without them even refreshing their browser, which is pretty cool. So that stuff's going to be coming out like actually very soon.
You people are busy. When are you going to get around to training?
I know, right? Yeah. Well, we're bringing some awesome folks on to help out on the training end. And Alyssa was one of the people that convinced us to open up a Patreon, and we're going to be doing that really soon. They were like, you gotta, we want to give you our money to keep working on this. And we're like, okay. I mean, we're not going to say no.
I would not believe the project that like me and my husband, we're both developers, or our friends, will just back. They'll be like, hey, give us $5. And we're like, yeah, sure, okay. Because we have so much respect for people who are building tooling that even if we do use this a little bit. So this was so mind-boggling. I was like, how do you not have a link for people to give you money to help support you? So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we are too. I mean, our hope is that we can, if we can get a good amount of support, we'd like to, work on this stuff, a good portion of our time. Like we'd love to start committing a lot of core hours to keep moving this thing forward. So yeah, we're very hopeful that people step up and we can start taking a lot of our time and putting it towards working on StackBlitz.
Very cool, man. I'm so excited about this, and I can't wait till it's in the docs, because I think it's just going to open up the like some people's eyes who still haven't seen it yet. Because I heard of it a couple months ago, actually, before you were on either podcast. But I know there are people out there who haven't heard of it yet. So I'm excited for that PR to go through.
Us too. Yeah, we've been sitting waiting for the pull request for the doc to flip over for a couple months now, and we're very excited, and we're also kind of on the edge of our seat because we don't exactly know when it's actually going to land.
I was gonna say, are you scared? Are you scared a little bit?
No, we're just kind of we gave them our phone. We're like, listen, if whenever this thing goes through, if anything goes wrong, doesn't matter the hour, day or night, just call me on my cell phone and we'll take care of it, because we're just afraid of us going to sleep, and then for 12 hours we were asleep or whatever, that everything just goes wrong. But yeah, we've done a ton of work in fortifying that, the integration with that specifically. So we're hoping that everything goes well there. But yeah, I mean it's been awesome to work with the folks on the Angular team on this and all the other stuff too. Like it's been a dream come true. Like we love all the folks there.
Well, we feel the love. Tell us about Turbo, which I think is somehow driving the NPM stuff, but it's a standalone thing.
Well, yeah, didn't you mention it earlier with the speed? Was it?
Yeah. So when we were talking about the NPM stuff earlier, that actually was Turbo, our architecture there. And I mean, the TLDR of it is we created this package manager that's able to work entirely within a web browser, and it actually works 5 times faster than your local machine, whether with Yarn or NPM. And I can go over some of the other. I talked about a lot, or we talked about a lot of the technical points on it earlier. But there's a lot of stuff in there, I think, that you may have questions about. So we're happy to answer anything else on Turbo.
Well, is it a standalone product? And if so, how would I use it? Or
yeah, so we're actually going to be releasing a lot of the source of that probably within the next couple of weeks. And our hope with it is that folks will start because the thing with Turbo is that it can be used locally, but there's going to have to be a lot of code written to augment it. And our goal is not so much how do we bring this to local right now. We're still focusing on how do we make stuff work really fast in the browser. And so we've been talking with a lot of people in the community on, hey, we'd love to see experimentation, not only about bringing this to local, but also people are, talking about bringing to script type module, being able to actually do, NPM dependencies with actually just the script type module tag. So Turbo itself, we think it's going to be used in a lot of other places. And actually, NPM themselves are now starting to work on a package manager for front end sort of thing that's actually using a lot of the principles that we figured out with Turbo.
Great the way that works, doesn't it? I mean, those guys are just sitting on it, and then Yarn comes along, and now they suddenly have to get faster, and then you come along, and now they got to get faster.
No, this is tough stuff. I think it's very expensive to experiment, especially on things like this. And so that when we launched, they came into our Discord channel, and they're like, honestly, we're delighted to see this because there's a lot of ideas that you guys have now proven that we were kicking around. And that's great. I mean, it's great that we all can kind of contribute ideas out there and help improve web development for everyone.
So in the pre-show when we were talking together, you were mentioning something about interactions with Firebase and potentially Azure. What was that about? And I mean, now we're looking beyond where you are now and where you're going. What's that all about?
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. So the idea is that you'll be able to come to StackBlitz, just like you can today, and build out a project. And in one click, you're going to be able to deploy directly to Google's infrastructure on Google Cloud and Firebase in just one click. And that's really awesome because it removes a lot of barriers for getting, okay, I have this project now, how do I get it out there on the web? And so we've been working with some of the cloud folks on Google's end to do an integration there, and it's going to be probably the coolest deployment experience ever because we figured out how to cut down the time of deploys just a huge amount. You're within seconds from hitting the deploy button, it's going to be live. I'm not sure how much more I should say, I guess, until we launch it, but it's going to be super cool. It's going to be by far the fastest way to deploy any Angular, React, or whatever application to the cloud.
So if I understand correctly, what I would do is I would go into StackBlitz and I would sort of write my little application, or maybe I would import a starter and make some adjustments. And then I would push a button and it would deploy what I had in StackBlitz to a Firebase server. Is that the idea?
Firebase or Google Cloud, depending on what you want.
Or Azure, once we work out that.
Yeah, if John Papa's listening, hey, we'd love to have Azure as a deployment target because those are the two big ones. It's Google Cloud and Azure. Like those, the people have been asking us, hey, what am I going to be able to deploy directly there? That'd be amazing. So you'll be able to just within StackBlitz, you OAuth with Azure or Firebase or Cloud. Or Google Cloud, that is, and you create your server, you pick one, and then from there on out, you just hit deploy, and it takes your project and puts it out there live. And all of these deployment services, you can point an actual domain at, right? So your personal homepage or your side projects page, you can just have that wired up. And so inside of StackBlitz, within seconds of hitting deploy, that's going to be live on those services.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, we're really excited about it just because usually deploys can take a long time. And there's some of the stuff in some of the technology that we've been working on the bundling side has allowed us to really blast past a lot of the previous limitations on the speed of deploying.
So how long were you going there, Ward, that you didn't know you were muted?
The whole time I asked that question. And then it was this long silence there, and then you jumped in, Alyssa, and then I that's when I realized nobody was listening. I thought I was just sounding like an idiot. So I am in that 60, over the cliff 60.
Oh my word!
It's all over for me zone. So I can't even hear that mute.
I'm never going to hear the end of that one.
No, you're not. No,
not for me. You're not. I'm going to give you grief forever about that.
No, I was actually going to say you can add somebody over the age of 100 has actually used our app now, because Ward just used it.
Ouch! Oh, I know. I go to the school that I read to, and I say, so the kids, so how old do you think I am? And they say, they think of the largest number that they know, and it's like 23.
And you don't feel flattered? I'd be like, yes, I am 23.
I would, but I know that that's the highest number they can count to, and clearly the highest number Eric can count to is 65.
No, I need to get a token 80-year-old so I can bump our number up.
You should put that out, on the internet. Looking for 80-year-olds. That's no dev. Oh my!
They got that on Tinder. You swipe right for an 80-year-old.
Oh my god! That's funny.
So, did we talk about? I know we talked about importing a project or typing in the GitHub URL, and then hopefully soon to get on Azure or Firebase. What about the in between? So I know we don't have a visual aspect, but is there any features that you wanted to walk through? One that I thought of was the stuff that you did with the CLI. I remember, isn't there a button or something you can click to create a new component or something?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I'd love to talk about that because I know the audience can't see it, but maybe we could walk them through a couple of because there's just so many bells and whistles that I'd like to.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, no. Thanks for bringing us to a visual because I think I think you're totally right. I think that to me is actually one of my favorite features of StackBlitz. And it's a small thing, but when you actually use it, you're like, wow, that's really cool. So if everyone on here is, I imagine everyone's probably familiar with the Angular CLI and the generators. You type ng generate new component, whatever have you. So on StackBlitz, we actually integrated with the CLI generators and some of the upcoming schematic stuff they're doing. And it's really cool because you don't have to type into a command line or anything. Just in the files sidebar, imagine in VS Code, you see your files. If you right-click on any folder, it gives you the typical options of create a new file or a new folder or edit this folder name or whatever. And then it has a list of all the generators you can run. And it's generate new component, service, directive, guard, et cetera, et cetera. You click on that, you type the name you want. It's home for home component. You hit enter, and within, it's just instant that all of the files for that component are scaffolded into a folder called home. So it's the home folder has been created there. The HTML, CSS, and TypeScript file has been created, and your application has been hot reloaded with that in it, and it's been added to your ng module, right? And this all happened literally in one click, boom, new component. And so what that means is that you can scaffold entire applications in literally minutes, not even. In a minute, you can just right click, create new component, create new component, create new component, create the shared module, add the user service, add the API service. And that would take, if we could do this on a screencast, I would literally be able to do that in about 15 seconds flat. And now I have an entire application scaffolded. So it's
to me, I was so just flabbergasted when I saw that. And I was actually wondering, should you add like, you know how you hover over a link and it'll show like the URL at the bottom of the screen, like super tiny? Like, I'm wondering, should you add like what command is running behind the scenes just so developers don't forget? Because like, that's my worry, right? Is like, if I start using this, I'm not going to remember any CLI command ever. Like, just not. Like, but no, I think it's always a good thing, I guess, when you abstract away and make it easier on the devs. That was a worry of mine. I was like, I'm going to forget everything.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's something we wrestled with. We were actually originally thinking, well, do we give them kind of a fake like console where they have to type in ng new component, because like for npm, when you install dependencies, that actually is pretty much the exact same as when you're typing into the command line, like npm I this package space this package @ version space this package. You can actually install multiple packages at a time in the same style there. And you can even copy and paste, like a lot of repos have, to install this package, copy and paste this npm I Redux or whatever, right? And you can kind of just copy and paste that even with the npm I, and our client automatically strips it out and installs the package, right? So we were wondering, do we do the same thing with the CLI generators? And we decided to not, just because the visual of being able to point at the specific folder that you want that thing generated in was actually the turnaround time actually seemed like a lot faster than having to like CD into the directory and kind of figure out where you were and that sort of thing. But we're going to be opening up a lot of the flags though. So if you want to do like dry run or any of the other flags that come in with that, when you're typing in the component name, you can just type -- dry run or -- this. So you'll be able to configure it that way. The only thing you're not doing then is typing ng generate.
Very cool.
I did not know that feature was there. I just tried it. It works great.
We need to figure out how to like just throw that at people. We were thinking of originally having, when you click on the add file thing, it would show all the options. But maybe we'll do that. But we've kept it as just right click for now because it's kind of a power feature,
yeah. I did notice. You don't have any documentation.
I know. We've been very, we need to circle back.
You're moving too fast. And you know what? I think we'd rather have the code than the docs. But are there ways that people can contribute to StackBlitz to make it, somebody wanted to give you some docs or something like that? Is there?
We need to do a better job of getting people involved in the project. And I think the docs would actually be, I didn't even think about that. That'd be a perfect place for us to start. Because the problem that we have with a lot of the internal code, because our goal is to open source, most of the core tech or pretty much all of it. So other people can use it in playgrounds or, whatever they want. But the problem is that our API churn is just immense because we touch so many things. Like we have this package manager we created. We have this bundling and dev server. We're dealing with the actual IDE just itself. And so our APIs are churning so fast that it's to put it into open source would actually be more of a hindrance to us than a help. We can't even find the time to write documentation just on the features. So we're trying to get a lot of the API churn slowed down. We think we're getting pretty close to it, probably within the next couple of months here. I think if people want to help out with the docs, we would welcome that help, definitely, because it's something that we've been meaning to get around to.
Well, is there anything that you guys can think of that we haven't asked you or that we didn't cover about either origin story or StackBlitz itself? Do you have anything in the future that you want to talk about, like where you're going?
Yeah, I think we've covered most of it, honestly. We're going to be spending a lot of time on the things we've already discussed. The only other thing I can think of is we're going to be doing like real-time collaboration. So you can just, it's like Google Docs essentially for Google Docs plus VS Code, right? Like that's essentially going to be the idea. And you send a link, people can jump in and type, and what they're typing gets hot reloaded in your browser as well. So you actually be able to do some pretty cool collaboration with folks.
Pair coding in StackBlitz. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. VS Code added that recently. I guess it's still in their preview.
Wait, what?
It's in their preview, yeah.
but it's a pretty nifty feature to be able to. It's not just like screen sharing. It's you're handing the cursor back and forth as people are working on the same project, and what a great way to help another developer through a problem. So.
Yeah, they did a really good job on it's called Live Share, I think, right?
That's it.
Yeah, they did an awesome job. We were actually just talking with some of the folks on the VS Code team yesterday about that and some of the other things they're doing. But yeah, it's actually really cool what they did there, because it's like you said, it's not just doing the text. Like I think Adam's teletype is it's just sending like text transforms. They're actually doing a full virtual file system. So you can access the other person's FS and even their browser and stuff, like seeing the changes there. So it's really cool. And yeah, it's a StackBlitz. What we want to do with on our end is we want it to be very similar to the stuff that they're doing there, because they did a complete killer job on live share.
Cool. Well, since seems like we've covered most of the topics we wanted to talk about, maybe we should head over into picks.
Do you run your own freelance business? Or maybe you're thinking about picking up some business on the side? Well, then you need FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the quickest and easiest way to get invoices out to your clients. It's easy to use. It works anywhere, available from any device, on the desktop, iPhone, iPad, Android, and all of your data is backed up and secure. And it makes it really easy to get organized and get paid. You'll be tracking time, logging expenses, and invoicing your clients in no time. You can also save time billing, freeing up several days per month to focus on the work that you love, and you get paid faster. FreshBooks customers are paid on average 5 days faster because there's a link on the invoice that says "Pay me now." And it's a great way to grow your business. Plus, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day trial. That's right, 30-day trial if you try them out. So go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the "How did you hear about us" section. Once again, for a 30-day trial, go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the "How did you hear about us" section.
So why don't we start with Ward? Ward, you got
I don't have any picks this week.
Picks.
I know.
Nothing, Ward? You've got nothing? No
Ward,
cool books,
I'll pick for you. You're going to pick Star Wars.
Not in a million years. That's my anti-pick of the year. I'm still trying to get over the trauma.
You said that movie converted you, and you're now a Star Wars. It was your favorite
never
movie.
Said that in ever.
I'm pretty sure. I tweeted that you said that.
Fake news. Fake news.
All right, Alyssa, how about you?
So one movie that I went to see last weekish, I think, was The Greatest Showman. Has anybody else seen it yet?
Yep.
No, but I was curious about seeing it.
Holy
it's good.
moly. Oh, it was so good. I walked out and I was just like, that was amazing. It was just the music was beautiful. The choreography and the dancing was incredible. The acting was top notch. It was entertaining, and it's just really altogether I can't say that I liked it more than Star Wars because that would be blasphemy, but it was good.
Well, see, now that was one of the ones I was thinking I was going to put on my list because I heard about it and I thought, oh, really? But I have another one that's like that I'm putting on my list that's really, which is I Am
What?
Tanya Harding. How can that be a movie?
Yeah.
But
What?
I Am Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
You got to check it out. People are saying it's great. I can hardly believe it. So that's got to be
theaters.
in theaters. And but Joe, that must be your pick.
That was going to be my pick. You stole it, but that's all right. You can have that one.
But that was my non-tech pick, and I guess my tech pick would be NG Atlanta, which is I'm going to at the end of this month, and I think tickets are still on sale. So if you want to come to Atlanta and hang out and be my best bud, you can still get a ticket. So yeah, NG Atlanta and The Greatest Showman. Tippity type.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll go next. I've just got a couple of picks here. Last night, I went and saw the musical Something Rotten. It's a Broadway musical. It happens to be on tour. Came here to Salt Lake City Went and saw it. It's the second time I've seen it. I saw it on Broadway. Absolutely loved it on Broadway. Loved it again on tour. So if it happens to be coming on tour to your city, or if you happen to be heading over to New York, I assume it's still playing there. I'm not really 100% sure, to be honest. But fantastic musical. It's about the very first. It's a parody during Shakespeare's time about somebody who uses a soothsayer to look into the future and see what's going to be hot, and a competitor to Shakespeare. He's a playwright who's a competitor to Shakespeare. Uses a soothsayer to see into the future to see what is going to be the hot thing in plays so that he can compete with Shakespeare. And the soothsayer sees that musicals are going to be big. So this guy writes a musical in Shakespeare's time, and it's absolutely hilarious. An amazing choreography, just a great show. So that's going to be my pick, is Something Rotten. And I also want to pick an audiobook I've been listening to recently called Dollars and Cents by Dan Ariely, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Dan has written some other stuff that is pretty interesting. He's written quite a few books, Predictably Irrational and The Upside of Irrationality. So this is about how irrational people are about money. And it's a really nice book because it also helps you kind of see how you might be irrational about money and help you maybe take steps to work against that. So great audiobook. I don't know, I'm a third of the way through or something, but I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed all of his other work, though. He's a great scientist. So those are my picks. And then, Dan, how about you? Sorry, Eric. Eric, how about you?
That's what you get for not updating this.
Yeah, I know. Eric, how about you?
Well, Albert and I are going to do ours together.
Oh, wow. All right.
And so we're going to, Alyssa's going to kill us because we're going to do the same ones we've done when we last chat with her. But we are, and actually, Alyssa, thank you for helping us get past the 10,000 star mark on Real World. And that's what we're going to be, that's the first pick of ours, which is Real World. If you go to realworld.io, it takes you to the GitHub repo. It's the mother of all demo apps. It's essentially like 2Do MVC, but full stack, and it's a medium.com clone. It's like a social blogging platform. And you can choose any front end and any back end and see how they create this medium.com clone. And so we started the project like 9-10 months ago, I think now. And we've had, I think we're almost at 30 different front ends and back ends now. And there's like some cool stuff. There's like a Rust backend. There's like an Elm front end. Like you kind of like the wacky, cool sort of ends of things. We've permeated that now. So it's super cool if you're looking to learn a new framework, front end or back end, and see how they can work together and whatever have you. So that's the first pick, and the second pick.
Second pick is Thinkster. Right?
Yeah, Thinkster. our Thinkster.io.
If you're looking to learn about any of the real world stacks, we have tutorials on a handful of them. If you want to learn about like Django, Rails, React, Angular, and
yeah. So it's like and I hear these two really cool guys run Thinkster.io, and you should totally give them your money. Yeah, like they just awesome guys. So but yeah, Thinkster teaches a lot of the actual real world front end and back end stacks. So they have they're accompanying tutorials to the code bases themselves. And that's how Pi and I stay alive on a month-to-month basis. So if you're looking to learn that stuff, we'd be thrilled if you came to Thinkster and bought a subscription and supported our work.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for being on the show. It's been really a great show. Had a lot of fun talking about StackBlitz, which is absolutely an amazing project. I think I should amend my picks and actually pick StackBlitz. I've used it. It is truly fantastic. It is absolutely best of breed. So thanks for coming on the show. We've had you guys on JavaScript Jabber before. For the audience that's listening, if you haven't heard that episode, it's another good episode about StackBlitz. And thanks Panels, Ward, and Alyssa for being on as well. And thanks to the audience for listening. We'll catch y'all next week.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh, man.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CacheFly.com to learn more.